Hello everyone, Kristina Werner here. In this video, I will be walking you through my entire release coming out on August 9th, 2026. The theme for this release was autumn, fall, thankfulness, things like that. There's some really great products right along those lines, plus one that I think is going to be another staple to add to your crafting stash. It's a great texture background stamp. So let's get into it. I'm going to walk you through all of the different bundles and individual products, and I'll show you cards made using those products. Like I've done in the past, each card has kind of a mix of products, so I'll point things out as we look at all of the cards. The Calm Canopy bundle consists of two products. We have a large 6x8 stamp set with kind of like silhouette branch images. It's meant to look like you're looking up into the sky through tree branches. And then also some coordinating dies to help you cut out the individual greetings that are included in the stamp set. So you can use this stamp set to create a lot of different looks. Let's look at some cards made using this bundle. First up, we have this card that has those branches just coming in off of the top. There's some texture layering and some ink blending as well. Then with a greeting just stamped here at the bottom. We also have this card right here where I kept it really simple, mostly a white card, just a small band of color for some of those fall shades. And then I have the greeting stamped in brown. This card was a lot of fun to create. We have a nice, really dramatic ink blend coming down and then those branches coming in on both sides. Here's a similar card where it's just a nice ink blend where the color is more intense at the top and it's white at the bottom with some blue leaves coming up from the bottom. And then that heartfelt hugs, white heat embossed. And this final card has just the one branch coming in, and then we have the halftone stencil in the background. This is the Calm Canopy bundle. You have the 6x8 stamp set and also the coordinating dies for the greetings. The Courage and Strength bundle is purely because I wanted some more very small, dainty greetings. I didn't want a big flashy stamp set. I just wanted some small greetings and their coordinating dies that could cut out all of the individual elements. So the font treatment for this greeting stamp set matches the ones in Calm Canopy. It's sort of an add-on to the Calm Canopy bundle. So I'll just point out where some of these greetings have been used. We have the Sending Comfort right here, and also the May You Find Strength. So it has kind of the same fonts and text as the Calm Canopy bundle, but these are just additional greetings, and these are all ones where you can mix and match the all caps with the script word. So you've got Sending Peace, Sending Comfort, Sending Strength, Find Time to Breathe, May You Find Courage, May You Find Strength. So you can kind of mix and match all of those. The Easy Repeat Light Linen Background Stamp is the perfect texture stamp if you want just subtle bits of distressing or texture added to your cards. So I'm going to show you some cards with this very subtle texture. You can see it in the background here. This was stamped in some pebble ink. There's a little bit of the texture on this one. The texture was stamped in white pigment ink on this one. It's very subtle, just having a little bit of that texture. And then on this one was actually stamped a couple of times. Let's look at it a little bit closer. You can see that there are some white areas. That's because it was first stamped in white pigment ink and then stamped again in pebble ink. Something that I really like particularly about this background stamp is that the look you get depends on how you use the stamp. So for this particular texture, it was stamped just once, and then it was just flipped upside down and stamped again, so you don't have any like overlapping areas. But if you want to make it look like actual linen, you can have it stamped one way, turn it just 90 degrees and stamp it the other way, and you get sort of that crisscross linen texture. So once again, this is the Easy Repeat Light Linen Background Stamp. The Thankful bundle consists of 2 products. We have a 4x6 stamp set with lots of words that can be combined with the word thankful. And then we have the dies. Now, something I wanted to point out about this particular stamp set and dies is something that I've done in products previous, which is you have the 3 large words, but then you also have them repeated over here in the dies. So the shadow outer die on each one of these over here also matches the stamps. So you can use this outer shadow die for the stamp, or you can layer it with the die cut word. All of these greetings up here have a coordinating rounded rectangle or kind of rounded sentiment strip shape for them. And some of them have multiple greetings that fit inside. So I've indicated that on the packaging. There's 2 up in this shape, there's 2 right here, and then you have 4 that fit this little tiny little sentiment strip die. So let's look at some cards made using this bundle. I have quite a few in this most release that use these stamps and dies. I'm first going to show you cards that use the really large scripted element. So here's an example of that large thankful in its die cut form, using some gold foil to cut that out, and then some hazelnut cardstock for the shadow layer. Here's another example, this time using hazelnut cardstock, and it's been stacked so it's nice and substantial on top of a white shadow layer. And this third example has that large thankful stamp stamped over and over again to create a fun background. Also on this card, we have the stacked capital letter version of the word thankful. It's stacked about 3 times to give that a little bit of a chipboard look. Here we have that same thankful, but this is the stamp version, and it's been stamped with a rainbow stamping or multicolor stamping technique, going from creamsicle over to hazelnut. Here's another example of that all capital letter thankful. This time it's stacked in the color Lakefront with a white shadow layer. And then we have that same stamp, but multiple stampings of it in different colors to give it sort of a rainbow look. This is a great way to create a 1-layer card, but have it, take up a lot of space with just one stamp. And the third and final thankful greeting is this little tiny dainty little die cut right here where there's a line connecting all of the letters. So there's that thankful really small. And then here it is used again on another card in a different position on the card front. So this is the thankful bundle. So the stamp and die sets back here. These work really, really well together, and you have lots of options covering all the bases. This is the Halftone texture stencil pack. It's technically just 1 stencil, but there's a lot you can do with it. I'm going to take it out of its packaging so you can get a better idea of what the stencil looks like. It almost looks like a cloudy sky when you see it like this, but what it does is it can add lots of fun texture to your cards. So here's a card using the stencil. All of this ink blending was done, and then the stencil was applied on top and ink blended using white pigment ink. For this card, it was tone on tone on the background. So this is pebble cardstock with pebble ink using that halftone stencil. Here's one where it's used just very subtly down here at the bottom with a little bit of Tide Pool ink coming in from the bottom. The stencil was ink blended, and then the background was also ink blended for a little bit more color concentration down at the bottom. And then this last one is really fun. Look at the leaves and the texture on the leaves. All of the leaves were stenciled twice. First, using that same color of cardstock for a tone-on-tone look, and then stenciled again using white pigment ink. So these colors are sorbet, I think this is honeycomb, cranberry, and lakefront. So those are the same inks I used there. And then over here, I have the same colors used, except I added in a little bit of spiced cider. So this is the halftone texture stencil. I think this is going to be a staple in my craft room just for adding lots of fun texture. I think it looks fantastic on backgrounds or on die cut elements. The Big Leaves and Stems die set has been in the works for over a year, and that's because the last year I released a stencil set with the same leaf shapes, and there was a coordinating die set, but the leaves in the dies were much smaller. And after I had started making cards with those products, I really just wanted some big leaves. So that's the inspiration behind this product. They're a great size to take center stage on your cards. So let's look at some cards using this die set. You can see you get a really fun variety of different leaves, and their size just great to nestle in up next to each other. So you have like the base leaf shape, and then you also have the stems that match. And if you're ever wondering which stems match which leaves, just check the back of the packaging, because then you can see an example of how they fit together. On this one, I did just kind of like a little row of leaves going right across. And this is the big leaves and stems dies. I think this is a really versatile die set because you can use these leaf shapes all year round. If you make them more bright green, more colorful colors, you can be for spring or summer, and then definitely more of these muted shades going into fall and autumn. The Leaf Flow Stencil Pack is a really fun one because you get both multi-layer colorful stenciling, but then also there is a full design. So you can see on the back of the packaging, we have an example of multicolor layering, and then down here, it's all in one. In the stencil pack, you have a stencil that has the full design, and then you have 4 individual stencils that will do the different segments in your different colors. So let's look at a few cards made using this stencil pack. First off, this is just an example of some of the multicolor stenciling just by itself. So this uses, I think it was honeycomb, cayenne, artichoke, and cocoa for that fun stenciling. And a similar card, but different colors, is this one right here. This one I stenciled on top of wheat cardstock. And for this one, I used juniper, spice cider, honeycomb, and hazelnut. Here's an example of using that full design, and I also turned it so that it's more sideways and would fit on this 5x7 card. So we have a really fun ink blend going all the way down that I used through the stencil first, and then I went back over with the same ink colors and just added a faint ink blending of those colors, just so the white behind wasn't quite so contrasted and stark. That gives me a great opportunity to have a white greeting popped up. For this card, I used different squares of colored cardstock. I adhered them all together and then used that full design stencil over top and added white pigment ink. And it gives it sort of like this ghosted pattern over the entire segment of squares. So this is the Leaf Flow Stencil Pack. I think this is a really fun one. And I think there's a lot of different techniques you could do with this. It is a leaf, but it kind of almost looks like a feather. So I think you could use this for more of a feather kind of background if you want to go that route. So this is the August 2026 Kristina Werner with Concord 9th release. I hope you'll check it out. Everything is available over at concord9th.com. And thanks so much for watching. I will be sharing some cards with these products later in the month. I've got a little bit of travel the first half of the month. So the second half of the month, you'll see lots more card inspiration using all of these products. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.